Hello and welcome to Separated by Water, the podcast for Irish fans of English teams. My name is Colin Campbell. I'm a Spurs season ticket holder. My friend and co-host is Paul Galt, who, as you'll see, is a Nottingham Forest fan. Yesterday we had a very good session on Nottingham Forest, and I learned quite a lot. I want to return the compliment by cross-examining me, if you will, on all matters Spurs over the last while. And let's be honest, with the Nottingham Forest and Spurs bias on this podcast, we could hardly have asked for more. Paul, over to you.
Thanks, Colin. Yeah, welcome everybody, and thank you, Colin. A couple of footnotes or preface notes. We haven't been here for a couple of weeks up until yesterday. I was unfortunately ill for a couple of weeks there. All's good. We're back in the seat and raring to go. So apologies for any posts up on the YouTube to say we're going to have a post or an episode, and we didn't. It was changing all the way. It was very fluid. As you say, Colin. What a 48 hours for a Forest fan. It just never stops. It's just like, give us a break. Every time we seem to be going. I didn't even have time. I done the thumbnail splash screen for this episode, and it was Levy out, will Nuno stay? And it's still the same. And he's gone. He's gone. And we've got Postecoglou in. Postecoglou, who was your ex-manager. And I want to ask you about that later on. But anyway, Levy's gone. You're well documented in this podcast about giving out about Daniel Levy. Tell me, what does it mean now he's gone?
Okay. First of all, let me say, I was a strong critic of Daniel Levy's tenure as chairman of Spurs, chairperson. But I was more so of ENIC, ENIC, the investment company who owns Spurs under the Lewis family. And I had interrelated, so to speak. So therefore, what I want to say now is that genuinely, thanks to Daniel Levy for so much that he did in terms of the ground, the infrastructure, the profitability, and so on. And they're all well documented. But I've also remained critical of Daniel Levy for what we didn't do. And that was far, far, far too long without the trophy haul that I would argue we should have had. So he's gone. What does that mean? Well, people say, why did he go? A heaven for conspiracy theorists, but because we've heard so little. I can only give my opinion based on what I've read and my own intuition. I think that the trophy win in May did whet the appetites of the Lewis family and others. And they suddenly realised something I and others have been saying for some time. And that is, if you think Spurs are big, just imagine how big they would be with a few pots to win, the wave round the ground. Look at the enthusiasm of the league. And whether the Europa League's a major or minor trophy, to me, I'm old-fashioned. They're all there to be won. And I think this whetted the appetite. And I think then, to be honest, whatever influence he had or disinfluence on the transfer window, it didn't look good. Morgan Gibbs-White, the SA affair, neither of them looked good. Why do Spurs bid for a player and take him for a medical or try to take him for a medical and then go silent? Nottingham Forest chairman hits the roof and brings him back, and Gibbs-White and all that. Gibbs-White did well. We've had a podcast about that already in terms of keeping quiet. But where did that go? Then we have a long, protracted negotiation with Crystal Palace about Essie, right up to the last minute, where then we believe they were trying to trade Rickarlison for him as well. And then Arsenal were always going to, Spurs should, if they wanted that player, should have had that signed, sealed, and delivered a long time ago. And boyhood Arsenal would not have mattered one jot if we had wanted Morgan Gibbs-White and if we had wanted Essie. Now I use the word if because that is another bugbear of mine where I'm not sure we had a transfer strategy. That is a clear plan of going forward and where we need to improve and where we don't. Not simply flipping about from one available player to the other. Now, people will say, okay, we've now got players from PSG, players from Bundesliga, who are all good. And again, will be good players, but are they the ones we wanted? I'm not sure. In any event, the players we brought in, and there were some loan signings which were made permanent, I think are insufficient. Possibly in terms of quality and certainly in terms of quantity, because we lost Son. Solanke could be out for a while. So I'm not sure how far ahead we actually are. I think all of that left a bad look. And I think the bad look fell to the Lewis family decided that maybe to protect themselves, maybe to move forward, they asked him to step down. I think that he was forced into this. And thankfully, they showed a wee bit of respect to him, as I want to do, for his achievements by letting him step down rather than,
So do you think ultimately he was pushed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I do.
Okay.
And for those reasons, I think that the bad look of the transfer window, the league win, was stuck to him. The finger was pointed at him for that. Yeah.
Okay. One of the things you referred to there, trophies were missed. Is there any specific ones that you would say that was a definite we should have won that? Is there a trophy, a couple of trophies that you think Spurs should have won that? And if you didn't, why didn't you? What were his actions that led to he's not winning it?
I think it's a good question, and then I fudge it a little bit. It's difficult to say that. I mean, I think sacking Mourinho 3 days before the League Cup final and replacing him with Ryan Mason was frankly a nonsense. Whatever problems they had, they should have been able to leave until after that final. It was in both their interests, and in the team's interest and in the fans' interest, to put Mourinho up against Pep Guardiola on that day at Wembley. And that would have been a much better game than the one we saw. Now, notwithstanding the fact that the City player early on, and it should have been a red, he got a yellow and he scored the winner. Is just what happens in football. But I think that's one example.
Yeah.
I think the big criticism against Mr Levy is that when we were making headway, when we had momentum, he did not build on that. We never seemed to push the extra bit, the extra few million. And I'm not saying the money spend $1 billion on somebody or give. But I think a big club needs a big club mentality. And if the going rate, if the price is 65 million, for God's sake, stop arguing for 2 weeks to make it 64 and a half. That doesn't impress anyone. It doesn't even impress the player.
And in the world we're living in.
I think that's the thing. Yeah, but that's what I think. I think that he needed to say the going rate is X, and we will pay X, and maybe we'll go X plus just a little bit. If it's going to bring us more money in, it's perhaps.
So, Colin, if we can sort of stretch out a wee bit now, his last transfer window, the one that's left you the players you have for the season going forward, was it good enough? Yeah. Is it good enough? Can you do anything with it?
Well, we can do something with it, of course. There's some very, very good players there. But if Solanke is injured, it puts pressure on the guys coming in right away. If Van Van or Romero get injured, we're nearly back where we were again. Dragusin and Danzo, I'm not sure. I don't think they're in the same caliber. We may need to change the tactics. I'm not sure to what degree Thomas Frank was involved in these transfers, but I think it was an okay window. It was saved just at the end by bringing in the two players, but it looked very bad at one stage where Gibbs White had got away and Essie had got away. It really did look bad. It's been recovered. Is the team stronger or weaker than last year? That's hard to know. I think they're stronger. I think they will be stronger as long as they don't have the terrible injury crisis that they had last year. And we talked about Ange and his role in that, or otherwise, yesterday. But Spurs will be stronger if they can keep closer to their first 11. Have the signings made the team stronger than they were? Well, Son was probably past his best. Tell, we're not sure about. Simon play for Tottenham the way certainly I've seen him on YouTube. The guy from PSG, I think we'll do okay. but I don't think we're as much improved as we really should have been, given the win and given the momentum and given the Champions League.
Do you know, I didn't say this to you, that the night you lifted the Europa League Cup, I watched Son pick it up, and I honestly was that much emotional for him, because he was. I felt he went there. He gave every minute on the pitch for Spurs. He gave everything. Son was, and I think he'll remain a stalwart for you. You know, he'll be a legend for the years to come.
Legend.
You know, he managed to do something that Kane didn't manage to do, lift a trophy, and that's not a slight on Kane.
No, I understand what you're saying.
I'm not being nasty. I'm just saying that it was. I just thought it was. The time was right for him to go, and what a better way to let him go than have a European medal in his pocket and walk out the door with pride. And he's leaving on a good footing. Moving on then, Spurs, your Champions League draw. I'll be honest with you, I've been so wrapped up in everything that's going on here with me and everything that's going on with Forest in the Europa League. Who did you get in the draw, and how's it looking for you? I did look at it, but I can't just remember how it went.
Well, on paper, the draw's okay. It's probably as good as it could have been. The big teams are Monaco away. I'd love to be there, but we'll never get a ticket. Home. But we've got Villarreal, Slavia Prague, Bodo Glimt again in there. That. So, I'm happy with what we've got, and I really have to expect, that we will do well out of those games. I don't think there's any game, like Real away or PSG away or possibly even Bayern away, where you think, well, we're going to lose that. I think that we're in with a fair shot in every one of those fixtures. So good, successful league campaign in the Champions League. Yeah, knockout stages, last 8. Yeah.
Can you make it to the knockout stages?
Yeah.
And what's your expectations? You make it knockout stages. Where do you think you could fall out of the competition, or can you go? I know anybody can go all the way, but expectations. Do you fully expect to make it to the final?
No, if that's an expectation, no. But who are there? I don't think that there's any. Real. I'm not sure where they are just a minute with Xabi Alonso. Barca. I'm not sure about them. Bayern. I'm not sure they're just as strong as they always were. They'll win. They'll canter. They'll win the German league at a canter, and I don't think that's necessarily a good thing for them. So I think with the luck of the draw, Spurs certainly get last 8. It really depends when they come up against the English teams, to be blunt. Yeah. It's when they come up against Arsenal or Liverpool in real trouble, to be frank. But other than that, sadly, in many ways, the European teams, the great powerhouses of Europe, aren't quite that anymore. I think maybe finally the comparative strength that the Premier League has is beginning to tell. So with a kind draw, I think we can make the last 8, certainly. Okay. Last 4, even. I expect last 8.
Yeah. No, I take what you mean. I take your point. And well, we said we sort of discussed Spurs for the first half. A good link in to Forest as well. Discussing Forest. Mm-hmm. As you know, Postecoglou has been signed as a replacement for Nuno at Forest. I don't know what to expect, to be honest. We have a team that are used to playing a certain way, and that is not the way that Postecoglou plays football. And leaving injuries and all that stuff out of it. I want you to flash back, Colin, to whenever Postecoglou came to. Who did he replace at Spurs?
Just go right a bit. I think he was really replacing Conte.
Conte left.
Conte had left.
He wanted to go.
He left before the season ended, and his assistant and Ryan Mason, needless to say, but effectively he replaced Conte, who left in a rather unloved, which I think was unfair. Position because of his antics towards the end. Yeah.
The question I want to ask you: when he arrived, how did you feel in his first season? How did you feel? And until he left, how did that relationship deteriorate with him? Was it a good relationship, or did it? Were you happy with it? I'm not excited. What I'm trying to say to you is, I'm not excited, and I want you to tell me how you felt when it came to Spurs, and how it
Right, how I
ended.
felt was, oh my God, what's this? That's how I felt. What I thought was, is this a cheap option? We don't discuss Scottish football on this podcast. He had his success at Celtic and had success in Australia and Japan and all that. I'm not sure how much of an indicator that would be for the Premier League.
Yeah,
I was always sceptical, frankly. I
yeah,
saw our I saw our first 5 home games of that season, and it was a whirlwind. It was very fun. The midfield of Sar, Eve, Basuma, and Madison looked excellent, and everything looked quite powerhousey. But looking back, as I've said before, we're a little bit lucky against. We're very lucky against Sheffield United, and it kind of went through. But David Pleat was on Talksport today, and he kind of mirrored what I'd said before, and I feel guilty. Someone going over the same thing. He said that basically, I think it was all found out whenever we played that infamous Chelsea match. And Pleat said similar things where we left ourselves, really at the mercy of anyone who could play a slight diagonal ball. And I'd gone into more graphic detail about Eric Dara's. Somebody said the same thing then, acting the goat on the halfway line. We were inviting a hammering. So by then, people started to question this gung-ho spirit, and results started to do that. So the feeling turned quickly from this is all great fun, which is always great fun when you're winning, to the realization that the Premier League's more complex than that, and you need horses for courses. You need tactics and sometimes counter-attacking or deeper defence, or what's required to beat teams and to get results. Our results in the second half of his first season and all through the second season highlighted me a guy who had become stubborn. I think he'd become borne down by the questions he'd been asked, in which he always interpreted criticism behind them. And instead of maybe saying, look, I have a number of plans here and we're going to show you them, or this will come out, or whatever it is, we seemed to be, we were too easy to beat at home, for one thing. That's unforgivable. So through time, I think some people say, oh, the style of football is great. I would criticise those Spurs fans, and they're probably the ones who watch it on Sky Sports or Sky TV, and they're not actually invested in being there, suffering 100 minutes of this. Go and watch Wolves, Aston Villa, Ipswich, Leicester, West Ham, for heaven's sake, beat us. Was painful. And I could have, outfoxed the defence at times. We were watching really good players do really stupid things. And that was what was poor about it, And Ange, God love him, seemed to become more and more entrenched in this. But quietly he changed it in Europe. So, what have you got? I'm not sure really what you can expect, Paul, because Forest was built on a completely different model. So they're attacking prowess and their Spursy defence. So he sort of made that worse. But Forest have been successful. You've counter-attacked. So what happens now? Change the style or what?
I don't know. And the players that it's designed around. Now, I think Morgan Gibbs White, I think Elliot Anderson, 2 caps with England, 2 man of the match trophies. I think it's fair to say we've got a player in our hands there, and we got him from Newcastle. We always love to slag Anthony when he comes on here about thanks for Elliot Anderson. But seriously, we have a player in our hands, and I think he can run any midfield in the world, and he'd be welcome in any team in the world. I said to Rosario last night when we were watching it on TV, I said, watch number 23, watch Elliot Anderson. And the minute he played the ball, he ran, he was always in space. He moved into space. I played that much football when I was young, but my manager always said to me, play the ball and find space, move to space. This guy does it, and he finds a place where he can move the ball on. either right, left, or straight forward, and he's an exceptional player.
Mhm.
But what is Ange going to do to them? I don't know. I worry, Colin. I'm very worried about this season moving forward. We were terrible against. I accept it now. I've taken it. Nuno is gone. Did he deserve to go? Probably deserved to go. He dug his heels in. He took an approach with the owner, and that was never going to be end any other way than I'm going. I loved the way he managed, and he had a unit playing together in Forest. I don't know what to expect from Ange. I don't have the love for him that I had for Nuno, and I almost fell in love with Nuno straight away as the manager of our team. But I don't. I just can't see that happening. Um, he does he bring a backroom staff with him, or does he come on his own?
What I read was he plans to bring his backroom staff. I saw 3 or 4 names there. So that's probably what he'll
See,
do.
that's worrying as well. So that's
Now,
more change.
Apparently he initially allegedly came to Spurs and didn't bring a backroom staff, but I read could be doing that. I mean, something you said, Paul, there, which I think sad, is that you think Nuno should have gone or deserved to go for something he said rather than something he did. And I would have rather that the owner and he could have resolved that. It's like saying, we'll not get divorced because of the kids. And I'd say, look, we're not going to fall out and you be sacked because of the results.
No,
Surely God
sorry.
could have worked out something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
you're right. I did say that. I did say
got
that.
us to
But
this.
then there were actions that followed the initial press conference. There were actions that followed it. We made 2 monumental signings. Our most expensive signing of the transfer window was left
Yeah.
out of our European squad. And now that was him basically, I think, putting 2 fingers up to Maranakis and saying, well, there you are. Ed, you brought that player in.
Okay.
I didn't want them. I'm not including them in the team. The second thing, he went out again, West Ham, and I just think that it was the worst I've seen our team play. We had nothing. I don't know, were the players feeding off the negativity that was surrounding the club at the time, and maybe Nuno at the time. I don't know. But I tell you now, it was diabolical. We were beat diabolically by a diabolical team. West Ham are shocking, and they took us apart. We offered no resistance.
Yeah, I
We fell
watched it.
apart.
Yeah.
We probably
I
should have been up. We probably should have been winning the game by half time. A couple of dodgy decisions. There's always dodgy decisions. I decided when we started this podcast, I wouldn't moan about decisions by referees because at the end of the season it balances itself out, and it normally does. We had a shocker that day, and that was another thing. He didn't bring on the transfers or the substitutions in time, and he had plenty of time to do it. And our bench, we have done well. And I know in your notes you said to me there, we like to bring them in. You like to ship in the players. We've shipped in, I think it's 13, and we shipped out 20, and we're in our
okay.
in our FFP. I think we're okay, considering we're going into a European competition.
Oh yeah, sure.
I think they've done good business. How that business is being done, I'm not sure. Is there going to be questions in the future? I think there probably will be, but I think they're stretching the rules. They're bending the rules, stretching the rules in every instance.
Well, if you want to look at it that way, I think there's a potentially dangerous precedent. I've noticed that your owner has mentioned the fact that a couple of times. I've seen that written twice. Now, Thomas Frank wasn't brought into Spurs because he's Danish, nor Arteta because he's Spanish or whatever it might be. So I hope that that's not a criterion. The other thing is, Nuno finished 7th. Could have been 5th. Could have been 4th. I think there were a few dodgy results at the end, and we all took stage fright a little bit. Ange finished 17th. Now what criteria are being used to think that he is an upgrade on that's just the bit that mystifies me. And okay, I know he threw the toys out of the pram and he did this, he did that. I still say, surely to goodness, there was some way grown men could have resolved that, and the owner could have said, look, that's not on, that's no good. And he could have said, I'm sorry, but you brought Edu in and you've edged me up this side. The team comes first. Yeah, I'm wondering, how Forest inadvertently damaged themselves seriously here
Oh,
without wanting to.
do you think I don't think about that? I think about that. I
Yeah,
thought
well,
about that for the last 48 hours. As I said the other day, I went to
yeah,
bed at 12 o'clock. I looked at my phone, looked at a couple of tweets, looked at a couple of group chats, and said the story was live in Portugal that Nuno was gone. I
yeah.
woke up at 4 o'clock, and there it was, Nuno sacked by NFFC. And then the next thing,
You said that to
the,
me.
the rumors
I'd been in
started.
bed at 10:30, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, and do the is I asked the question of Charlie and you yesterday, or maybe I didn't ask you, but asked him, is he an upgrade? I don't see him as an upgrade. I see him as a gamble. I see him as I see
Mm,
Postecoglou as an out and out punt. To see what he can do with the players that we have at Nottingham Forest. I think that the punt could go disastrously wrong. We could end up 17th and dumped out of Europe very early. Or we could go to the other side of things and we could have a stunker of a season. They get the wind behind their sails,
yeah,
and they go and they score goals and they win games. And
yeah.
but
Well,
this game is Saturday. We've got the opening game on Saturday, 12:30, Sky Sports against Arsenal. Um, you never know. You never know. I don't think that Arsenal are all that this
well.
season yet. They haven't been all that.
Mm,
I have this wee thing in the back of my head. It's a wee story yet to be written. Postecoglou comes in and he takes Arsenal apart, and maybe we could leave there 5-0, beaten 5-0, and I don't know. Just on that quick one, how do you think we'll do on Saturday against Arsenal?
I fear the worst.
Right. Okay.
I
That's
think
fine.
Arsenal will have been stung by the criticism of them against Liverpool,
Yeah.
and they will
Yeah.
see this as an opportunity to do a 5-0, to go at you like the way they went to Leeds. I worry about
Yeah.
that for Forest and for Ange, because it's the worst fixture. As an ex-Spurs manager, it's the worst fixture he could have had to start his career. It really is. You've been better away,
Yeah.
but away at Arsenal,
Well,
where they're going to really go for it. And I worry then that you do get beaten 3 or 4-0, 5, God knows. And that's a horrible way to start. Now, Forest 3 games so far: home to Brentford, home to West Ham, and away to Palace, weren't exactly big tests. I know Palace, of course, it wasn't. It was a good draw, and Brentford a good win. There's no such thing as a bad win. But, this is a big, big, big game. And, what tactics will he try to change? And, what can he change in the time available? It's very
yeah. Well,
difficult to know.
we've lost Ola Aina to injury and an international duty. I think he's with Nigeria. He could have played for England, but he's in Nigeria squad.
Right.
He's injured. He's not there. Bear in mind, Colin, our back four were strong last year and they'll remain strong. Um, uh, Matt Sells
Yeah, but it
is a
depends.
great goalkeeper.
If Ange has them all standing on the halfway line, it doesn't matter how strong they were. If he has some
Yeah.
silly idea of
If
the
he does
high
that,
press,
I,
if he has the idea of
I'm
the high
nervous
press,
already.
it doesn't matter how good they are.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, with Matt Wells on, not Matt Sells, Matt Wells on.
That's
Um,
you
Matt
know,
Wells. I wish he was Matt Wells. He reckons he's
Matt
Arsenal support. He
Onwell.
reckons we'll be 3-0 by 10 minutes. Yeah, I hope we are beating you 3-0 by 10 minutes. But we'll just wait and see. Okay, that's that chatted about. Anything else on Forest or Spurs, Colin? Who have you got at the weekend?
Just a couple of questions have been asked about Spurs, and probably people will say, "Okay, you want to leave out, you want to nick out, blah blah blah. You've got half of what you want and all that. What difference does it make?" I think that the Lewis family, Vivian and Charlie Lewis, I'm told, will be more involved in the day-to-day running of Spurs and plan to be there against West Ham on Saturday, something I can't do. So what difference will it all make? They've said it'll be a new era, but will it? And they've said, like, nothing's not for sale, as we know.
Yeah.
The wages to turnover, I think that what is needed here is a major change in the transfer strategy. And if they do that, great. And we'll talk about the profitability of the club. We also talk about wages to turnover, which is the lowest of many clubs, 42%. They need to increase that. And the business model, as Simon Jordan mentioned, I've said before, is to win more, to win more often and to win trophies, and you will survive. And your profitability increase tremendously. I am hoping that they have been converted to this and see the possibilities and go with it, and thought that Daniel was more instinctively cautious. And I hope that's the way we go. If we don't, you know what I mean? The crux of it is that will there be a change in the transfer strategy as I've described under the new leadership, or will that only be under new ownership? And that's the big conundrum for Tottenham and our legions and millions of next 6 months over the next season. Yeah. Okay.
I heard them saying categorically they're not for sale at the minute, but as you say, everything's for sale at the right price.
It's the old saying, I know it's not for sale, but if it happened to be for sale, how much would it be? And it's interesting that figures are already out there, 4 billion, 3.5 billion, monster figures, but we'll see. What I want is an exciting winning team. The players on the pitch and the manager on the sidelines, whom I can be proud of. So when I go there, I'm a little boy again, and we win. We'll not always win all the time. I don't care, but we'll win more and win more often.
Just one final question on that. What are you going to moan about now that Levy's gone?
Oh, don't worry, I'll find something.
Yeah,
I'll find something.
Laughed at the text you sent me when I sent you a message, and I says, "What are you going to do?" And you went, "Vinny out." Yeah, straight away, just Vinny out. Yeah,
I know it.
Yeah.
No, well, I saw his YouTube video. It was quite good. No, I don't. This is not. I think that people who take our money are open to criticism. I know. I've always tried to make my criticism rational and reasoned. I am impassioned. I'm impassioned because I care. And I do very much care.
We all are. Yeah,
invested an awful lot of money. Yeah. So I've invested a lot of my life in this.
I do feel very excitable after talking to Charlie yesterday. I feel as if I'm like an excitable child compared to him. He just lies back and goes, "Yeah."
I would like to be like that, but
so would I. But I can't be like that. I'm just not.
Yeah.
Anyway,
more than that.
We'll do our fast five before we finish. Explain to those who are listening to us, anybody who's listening, thanks for the comments. Please like and share and tell people about us. Subscribe to the channel, it's free. Tell us about fast five, and then we'll go into it. It's me asking you today.
Fast five is quite simply. Yeah, it's quite simply a bit of fun. It's Paul will ask me 5 questions, to which the answer must be either yes or no. There's no more elaboration than that. Paul can ask me to explain it in a bit more detail. Okay?
And it's all within a minute. All within a minute. All right?
Yeah. Sorry, in a minute. You're right. Yeah.
Here we go. This is the fast five. Colin, your first fast five. Is the future of Spurs better under your new manager or CEO, Vinny?
Yes.
Are you happy with Spurs' activity in the transfer window?
No.
Can you see yourselves winning silverware this season?
Yes.
Do you think Big Ange left a good legacy at Spurs?
Say that again, sorry.
Do you think Big Ange left a positive and good legacy at Spurs?
No.
Okay. Sticking to Ange, was it his fault that Spurs finished 17th last season?
Yes.
Okay. Your answer to the silverware was yes.
Mm-hmm.
What silverware can you win this season?
I think the League Cup or the FA Cup has to be the ones we'll go for. We're home to Doncaster Rovers next week, I think it is, or the week after next, and we've got to win that. We were leaders. We got to semi-final last year, and it sort of fell apart against Liverpool at Anfield after a very hard-fought 1-0 win in London. So it would be either the League Cup or the FA Cup, to be fair, and I would love either. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, that was all right. I don't think you'll win anything.
Yep.
to be honest, unless you
Thank
get
you.
the League Cup. I don't think I don't think you've signed well enough in your transfer window. I think next year, this season could set up for a very good season the following season for you if your new
We'll see.
CEO and the ownership model is going to buy players the way that I think they are, because you could almost see a change straight away after he went. I think you've been linked with players straight away. So anyway, that's it. I enjoyed that today. Thanks very
Thank
much.
you. Yeah, thank you.
Forest, who are you playing on Saturday?
5:30. Excuse me. 5:30 in the evening game away to West Ham. So you didn't do us any favours giving them a bit of confidence, frankly.
Sorry, who are you playing? You broke up there, Colin.
We're away to West Ham on Saturday night.
Right.
5:30.
Prediction.
Oh, we're going to beat them, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I predict a draw at the Emirates. I think that we can do fine. We'll just wait and see.
You're right. I would take a draw at the Emirates for Forest. Yeah.
Yeah. There's Matt Price's predictions. He says Spurs to make a final. I'm guessing he's saying that you're not going to win it, and Forest to scrap for mid-table positions or lower. Yeah, Matt, I'll take that if we win the Europa League and follow up. Could Ange be the first? Would he be the first manager to win back-to-back Europa Leagues? He would be. Has to be.
I think possibly Juan Ramos did it with Sevilla a lot of years ago, possibly.
I'll look that up. I will look that up.
I'll
look that up, and we'll have a.
But don't get ahead of yourself. I wouldn't get ahead.
I'm not getting ahead of myself. But like at the end of the day, it's the old adage: if Spurs can do it, anybody can do it. You know.
Well, let's see.
You didn't mention it. This thing of beauty or away strip this year. Beautiful thing.
Oh, sorry. Oh, Paul, my goodness. Is that your new away jersey for this incoming season? Oh, it's so nice. Yeah, very good. Is that navy there?
Yes, it's navy.
The badge, is it navy blue?
And these two stars, two stars are for the 2 European Cups we win.
Yeah, I know that they've lasted very well. They really have. Yeah,
they have.
Really have.
On that note, we will go
champions of Europe. Okay, yeah.
You'll never say that. And they've got an Ange Postecoglou song, Postecoglou. Postecoglou. He loves the Barbie, he hates the Derby. Forest or magic.
Well, that's nice. That'll be good. It'll last for a few weeks until Big Ange out. Will be the new tune. I'll be the side.
Very soon. Very soon.
Okay, Paul.
Okay, buddy. Thanks for that today. Thanks for listening. Anybody's listening to this, please like and share, and we'll chat to you soon. Take care. Stay safe. Thanks, guys.
All the best.
You Reds.